Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and we are back. I am so sorry for last Sunday not having a show. Our guest was also sick, Dr. Heather Lynn, who I've been so looking forward to doing an interview with her. And I emailed her, said, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And she said, I'm not feeling good either. So we are rescheduled with her later, I think in January. But tonight's guest, I definitely didn't want to miss. I am still getting over being sick. You'll hear it in my voice. I sound like crap. Sorry. But our guest tonight is Paul Nugent. He is the author of Mire, a spiritual journey into cosmic truth and the dawning of a new world. Paul Nugent is part of the Aetherius Society, and we've had a few different guests over the years who have been members of the Aetherius Society, followers of the late Dr. George King, who communicated or channeled with extraterrestrials. And it is it is a religious organization, I would guess. You know, they follow the teachings and beliefs of this, but it has to do with communication with an outside extraterrestrial force and our evolution. And this book is really interesting, so I definitely want you guys to hear that. But tonight, a little different World Wide Web of Weird. I call this World Wide Web of Weird UFO Invasion! Yes, the world's gone nuts. We've gone for 2 weeks, and literally the invasion. I said there'd be an uptick of UFO sightings, didn't I? Yeah, it's going to be my big come up. It's told you so here in the World Wide Web of Weird. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Just a little sicker, Jason Blanded. Yeah, man, it's in the sinus drainage from heck. My kids had it. I tried to delay my kids visit my parents during Thanksgiving, so they didn't get it. They still got it. I think my wife's the only one really got away without getting it. I think she got it early on, maybe, and barely got her at all. But me, and it just sinus drainage all night. No sleep because of a tickle in your throat. That kind of crap, you know? But enough me being a man and crying about being sick. Man sickness. Let me get to my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. She weathered the sickness way better than me, I'm sure, because I'm a man. She's a woman, and I'm a crybaby. How you doing tonight, Jamie? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Doing good and glad to be back, and still a little congested too, but...
Yeah, you're doing better than me, though, because I'm a big baby. I'm a big baby and cry about being sick. I know. But we're both on Mucinex tonight. Brought to you, Paranormal Soup by Brute Mucinex. Joining me from St. Augustine, Florida, and hopefully not sick too, is Rob Autry. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing good. Not sick. I'm not gonna get sick.
Yeah, knock on wood now, buddy.
Yeah,
it's gonna catch you through the World Wide Web of Weirdness. I don't know.
Florida, so it's 30 degrees one day and 70 the next. So,
all right. Well, Rob, he runs the videos. I have tonight, Rob, you'll have the articles you show, but I'm going to run through those really quick. I'm not even hardly reading them because it all leads up. This is the World Wide Web of Weird UFO Invasion special. And I have a ton. There's so much UFO footage. There's so much stuff. Or drones. Drones, yes, definitely drone footage. We got both, maybe. Or it's all drones, or it's all UFOs. No, it's definitely some drones. I'll tell you that. Some CGI digicabras out there, too. All the above. So much that I pretty much takes up the whole World Wide Web of Weird. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, yes, I said, it's UFO invasion. I don't know. But if you remember, back in September 8th, I had Les Velez on. He was talking about alien abductions. But that night I covered a story. Remember this? I'm bringing it up to make my point tonight. Police, this is September, remember. Police across the U.S. give a new UFO handbook as they warn craft pose significant safety risks. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network or on the Paranormal or Talkstream's live Paranormal radio app, we are a webcast. We do show videos, and there are going to be a ton. Rob, they'll be listed later. We'll get to them here in just a few. A bunch of videos all listed as UFO. I'll try to direct you to them, but they'll all be in that category of UFO at the very bottom of the drop box. But yes, let's go ahead and get the share screen up here. So yes, I talked about this back in September, and I thought, well, it's a bit weird. They're pushing this all out to these police chiefs as part of a police chief association. Put this 11-page document together for their police chiefs a few months ago, like they were preparing for something. You see, you should have like a wheel thing spinning. If I edit this down and repost it to YouTube, I'll show.
No, they would never do that.
Never. This is like not totally planned. Really? No. So let's move on to the next article. Because I'm not reading these. I want to get to the UFO beam footage here. Next up, things to go about. Mystery deepens as police UAVs are evading pursuit of over 50 drones. Of course, everybody, if you're just late, you haven't been around, haven't turned on your phone or watched the internet the last week, I don't know where you've been. It's been all about New Jersey, even though we all know, even me here in Michigan City, we've all had these sightings all over the place lately. I mean, I'm hearing about it all the time now in Michigan City's local forum. People seeing drones everywhere, right? According to the White House, it's just hysteria like that, right? But you know what? The police department doesn't think it's hysteria. They sent out their own damn UAVs in New Jersey because this is getting completely out of hand, and they watched them come straight out of the ocean.
Sweet. Nothing to worry about, though.
But nothing to worry about here. We don't. So, you know.
And
We don't know what they are.
swarmed
Don't worry.
his. Like 13 swarmed around his.
Yeah. Let's move on to the other article. Like I said, I'm not really reading these because we're going to get to the great UFO, UAP, drone, whatever it is, footage. Tons of it. Take your pick. You got it all. This one, coast to coast. Watch large drone spotted, SUV spotted over Staten Island. Now, ask this. We're going to watch now, in that UFO category of videos, go to Staten Island UFO video. Should be UFO Staten Island. Can you find that one?
All right.
I know I'm going to take you out of order of things. Residents Staten Island have been reporting seeing giant drones following similar sightings over the U.S. military bases and New Jersey. They weren't like a normal drone somebody would purchase and use them at their home. They were large. Somebody described it as large as an SUV. I think this one is larger than an SUV. You tell me what you think. This is Staten Island, New Jersey. We got much, much more of this stuff tonight. Look at that. You see it. You see that the houses, and it's behind the houses. You see the tree? It's behind the tree. I think that's a little bigger than an SUV.
like half a
Don't
football
you?
field.
Yeah, that seems a little bigger than an SUV. You know, so that's Staten Island. I'm hearing it. I mean, it's happening all over. Like I said, it's not just New Jersey. Why New Jersey are they focused on though? Why that? Let's move on. We'll come back to this footage. We got lots. Then you got like not just New Jersey. You have lights in Fresno County. And there's a bunch of stills and pictures here from Fox News and Fresno. You can find articles in Oregon, Wisconsin, Connecticut, all of them. Every single news agency has their own individual drone sighting and photos and videos. Not just talking about New Jersey. We got them here. Every local news. I'm waiting for the local Michigan City news to do that, but they really don't have a local. They have like a news dispatch that's really crappy corporate. So they probably won't.
Here in Florida now too.
But I'm sure I'll get one from the South Bend News, not far, ABC. They're the ones that interviewed me. I wonder, you know, that'll happen, right? This is like it's all planned. Okay, let's go on. Sorry, I'm being facetious. Lawmakers, they're all up in ends. They're accusing the Pentagon about lying about the mysterious drones. I love the one the guy that says they're lying earlier in this. Jeff Van Drews, the one who made the claims that the Iranians have a mothership and that they're sending the drones, and then the White House totally is like, no, there's nothing like that going on. When he first said it, he says, well, it's not like it's our government. They would let us know if it was theirs. You almost, I wish that you could see the newscaster's face when he made that statement. There was a slight little like really? Really? And then they turn around and they say there's no Iranian worship. Oh, they're lying. Oh, I thought you could trust what the government I thought you could trust, Jeff, what the government says. Either way, he thinks it's still Iranians. Did I not call that? Did I not call that they would blame a lot of this on Iranians? Did I not? You know, anything new they're going to blame on Iran.
Russia.
And Russia. And China.
No, it's
pick your
Russia.
World War III bet.
It's the new Russia.
Yeah, Russia. So, you know, of course, our useless congressmen and senators are all pointing fingers and getting their 5 minutes of fame on television, screaming at, you know, the FBI. The FBI, they literally tell them they don't know what they are. They even followed some of their agents. And yet the White House turns around and says, and the Pentagon, that there's no threat, but there's no foreign threat. They're not foreign adversaries. We don't know what they are, though. So if you don't know what they are, how do you know they're not a threat?
Exactly.
Right.
We don't get into panic.
Yeah, and then FBI's nightly investigating drones in New Jersey. That was such a charade there. Yeah. And then I think I put a seventh in here. I didn't put the article. And at the same time, they arrested a Chinese national for just recently taking a drone over a Space Force base. They got him pretty quickly. Caught him at the airport even, trying to get the heck out of the country because he knew he was in trouble. Right? Yeah. They got him. Right? But no, these things are SUV size or bigger, and they go dark when we try to watch them. And boy, they aren't very stealthy. They like to put up the FAA lights. What does this all mean? So let's get to some of this UFO beam footage.
Night, I go back over the hill. One guy says like they're going back to a charge station.
Well, yeah. I mean, they got to power up somehow. I've been seeing a lot of ads for new companies and their drones, you know, lately, if you haven't noticed. I mean, Amazon's new silent drone technology, MPX drone that has like these twin blades. There's a lot of CGI crap out there, just so you know. We're going to get down to the UFO footage. You'll see them UFOs. Let's see. What should we play first, Rob? Let's see. Let me look. I'm trying to get down to my list of them here. So first off, like I said, it's not everywhere. And let's go to PA, UFO Dillsburg, PA. Go ahead and play that one. You see that one in the list? I don't know if you can read it. There we go. Let's go to Dillsburg, PA. Caught on somebody's GoPro in their car or whatever. Look at these things. That's Pennsylvania. And then this was showed all over ABC News. Go to UFO ABC Zoom In. So that looked like that could possibly be a drone, right? And ABC, everybody's crapping their pants over it. over it as big glowing orb, which people are seeing too. We're going to get to that. Do you have yours in alphabetical order? Or should we, yep, this is it.
People's instruments and their cars.
Right. People reporting their instruments in their cars being messed with by these things. They also say they throw up their own commercial drones and they lose their battery power. My stipulation is if they're doing that in New Jersey, it's pretty cold. And if you don't have you have a regular commercial drone, I don't know if the cold's affecting with it.
They're getting jammed like when they're going under it.
ABC News showed this very high-resolution camera, zoomed in on it. But as high-resolution as it is, what's your guys' thought? I mean, I love our Todd Reinert's thought on this. Do you think this is just because of the zoom-in, you don't know what the shape of this is. It's just the light and the iris.
Well, sometimes, when I'm taking photos of planes and things, when it is trying to focus in, it'll be a blob like that. And I have to zoom out as far as possible.
Right. So,
and some of these have colors, but the blue one is different.
Yeah, this though is like a zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. This is what happens when you zoom in. This could just be still a drone with a light. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely orange lights. Or not orange, blue, I should say, in Orange County. Let's go to UFO Orange County, California. I find this video very interesting when we talk about them coming out of the ocean. These are going back to the ocean, it looks like, in this video. So this is out in the Pacific, Orange County, California.
So far, they're southern out here.
There is audio to this. You can hear her talking if you want to play it. I had to mute some of it, though. There is radio, so that's all right. I'm going to zoom in. It'll come to a zoom in here. I try to see. You can see this thing actually splash the water. When the zoom in of this, these lights are going down the ocean. You can see it splash into the water. This lady's just like, oh my God, what is, she's like, call the police. And the cops are going by when this is going on. She's like, what is this? This is going around quite, I don't know if it's legit or this is just, CGI, but this woman put her name on it and she reposted it and it's been viral. And like I said, you can almost see the water splash on one of these going down the water.
And there's others like this in other places.
Yeah. Right. I like this one because of like I said, you can almost see the splash and the color comparison because I'm going to pull up another video. Have you pull up another video in a sec? Oh, here we go. Watch. Hopefully you can see it. I try to zoom in as best I can on the video, but you could almost see it splash, one of them at least, when they go in. Not there. It's one of them. You can almost see the water splash. There's a car going by.
They have no heat signature.
Most of them don't. I'm saying there are some.
They do. They'll show up. And these don't.
Yeah, I'm saying what I'm going to say about all this is because I have a video, tons of videos here. I got videos of ones that are obvious drones. Obvious drones. Go to UFO. Go to UFO 1 movie. It'll have the same video we just watched, but I'm comparing it to another video. This one would be in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's an obvious drone. If you played the audio from that one that just played, if you go back, go back to that first one, and can you see if you can play the audio from the very 2 seconds of that video? Because that one's an obvious drone. I want people to hear what an obvious drone is.
Yeah.
I didn't get any audio from it.
And then they have the one that hit the pole or something that looks a little bit different, or it was just the angle.
If you had the audio on that one at the beginning, I show an obvious drone. It's like, and it's one that they keep showing videos of. All right, so look at this. Is that video I showed, the color lights. Now, it's going to go to another video here, and it's going to be in the Caribbean. And in that one, you're going to see a very similar color to these lights. This one here, I was still trying to zoom in to try to see the splash. Like, I swear to God, you can see it splash if you look close enough. All right, so this one here, Lanchanias 1, or how you say her name, this you can see, like, she's just videotaping their cruise at sunset. There's her friend there. He's on his phone, not paying any attention. And then watch this. Look at the light under the ocean. They're out in the middle of nowhere, man. I don't think that's divers at sunset. Look at that. And there's more. I mean, they're not the only ones. We showed a video like this last year of guys out on a boat with the same exact color light in the water.
Hmm.
All right, let's see what else we got here. We got a lot. All right, let's go to UFO Sebring, New Jersey. And I wish I had time. Third Phase of Moon found another camera angle of this. I've seen a lot of people disputing this one, but I actually seen 2 different camera angles of this, and I only have this one. But there's Third Phase of Moon has a second.
One?
No, this is the firing shooting one.
Oh yeah.
This, whatever this is,
projectiles, but then this looks like lasers or something.
It looks like heavy. I mean, if you ever watch like a helicopter in war, you see or an F-16 or something shooting its ordnance down on the ground. It looks like that. It's fire, man. It's fire from the sky. And this is some heavy ordnance, whatever this is shooting out. Like I said, Third Phase of the Moon found somebody else with a second camera angle on this. Otherwise, I wouldn't believe it. I saw one UFO channel I like said he doesn't think it's real. He only sees this one camera and this one posting. Well, Third Phase of the Moon found a second a video reel of it, and they think they found another too, maybe. So multiple people recorded this. 3 of this is 3 then, yeah. So multiple people recorded this. I only have the one footage, but there's at least 2 or 3 other footage of this event. And this was what Sebring, New Jersey.
And 4 or 5 of them spraying. Some people call it smoke. Some people call it vapor.
Right.
Or some say chemtrails.
So now people are also saying they're seeing them spray stuff from the sky. This is definitely shooting something. And it's not a threat. We don't know what it is. It's not a foreign adversary. It's not us, but it's not a threat. If you don't know what it is, then how do you know it's not a threat?
Yeah, it's a threat.
But the thing is they know what it is. That's how they can say that.
100%.
That's how they can say it. That's how they can say that. So there's all these drones, and they prepped for it with the police departments. Now the fire departments have their own pamphlet to how to deal with this. If one of these things crash, obviously something's getting shot down there. We got them over the Capitol. Go to UFOs over to the Capitol. Again, we covered this a few weeks ago, UFOs over the Capitol. They're obviously what they're going on. There's more. Not a threat, right? Why would they know it's not a threat? I don't know what this is. I know that a lot of these do look like man-made drones. But some of these, like what you saw going into the ocean there in that one woman's video, I don't think that's man-made. You better hope it's not foreign adversary man-made, or we're really screwed. I believe they're right. It isn't a foreign adversary. It isn't Iran or China or whatever. Iran doesn't have a warship off our coast with drones. I don't believe it's that.
Luke Skywalker said if it was foreign adversaries, then they would be showing up with our air control, this and that. But if they were untraceable or this or that, maybe they wouldn't be.
Well, here's what I think. You can start rolling through all the other video footage. There's so much. You can take your pick, Rob. UFO Staten Island, I got that one on there. You already did. UFO time lapse. Let's do the UFO time lapse. Let's talk about the UFO time lapse. There's a number of these. I saw one in Wisconsin. This one is New Jersey. It should be UFO time lapse. UFO 2 time lapse movie.
I'm pretty up on drones, and I don't know any drone. I have friends that build work at a big professional drone company. I don't know any drones that can be in the sky and go in the ocean.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That is not. So what's going on here? So you see this as a time lapse, December 11th, 2024, 24-hour period of just overnight time lapse in these things. You notice something? I don't think it's a UFO invasion. I think it's a UFO exodus. I think the aliens are like, screw this place, we're getting out. Does this look like they're leaving?
They're UFOs at all. I 100% think this is all the military one way or another.
No. Listen up, Jamie. That could be right. It could be all 100% the military. Or, listen, if they had news or warning of a preemptive alien presence to make themselves known, or a movement because they were getting the heck off this planet, maybe, they would launch a bunch of their own drones up, because every time one of these got spotted on camera as obviously a drone, it's going to dissuade people from thinking or believing that it's anything else but some kind of drones, and it's just our nefarious military. Let them believe that.
They're telling us that they're going to put an event together like this to get us to think these things, And why would they be stealth this whole time? But when they're getting out of Dodge, they got all these flashing lights.
Oh, I guarantee whatever we're seeing here is meant to be seen, right? They don't put FAA lights on them and a bunch. I mean, I saw one was literally an RC drone, like it looked like a huge one, but they literally wrapped Christmas lights around it. I saw one of those.
Turning the eye either because they're letting it do something and spy on whatever, and they're going to let whatever happen. Or there could be psychological warfare, like
it could be all those things. I don't know.
It
could be.
So
it could be. If you had a dirty bomb in this country and you wanted to find it, you would need aerial surveillance. Right, but at the same time, if there were aliens, if they had some knowledge, the aliens are maybe pissed off at us and about to make their presence known. Remember, we had just recently, December 3rd was supposed to be the alien invasion. Remember?
Yeah, and we're supposed to have a fake space wars, remember?
Right,
the space wars, and we're supposed to think there's this big...
Listen! If they're doing all this, okay, if they knew that there was going to be some alien presence in the sky, they're going to mask it with the whole drone situation. They would prep for that. And why would they want to let themselves be known, like in 1952? Because we're on the brink of nuclear war. Which we'll be talking about tonight with our guest, Paul Nugent, because Dr. George King was very much warning of these kind of things. Aliens trying to warn us from self-destruction. And what did I say for the last several months about us as we built up close to World War III? We're going to see an increase in these sightings. Yes, there is manufacturing going on here. It is manufactured, the drones, the news stories, the control, the narrative. But I believe behind this, there is actual alien stuff going on.
I think there are real alien things going on, too.
This is a masquerade to cover that up. Because every time somebody sees a video that, well, that's a drone, it's got FAA lights. Heck, I can see the wings. You know, I got so many in here you could show with wings. You know, like people are going to look at that and go, okay, yeah, the people are just seeing these drones. God, it's probably a hobbyist, or it's probably some company, or it's the military industrial complex. You know them; they do mysterious things. It throws us all off the idea that there actually could be aliens. It keeps the question up there.
Predicting their self and going back and forth on all these different.
Oh, they do that all the time. They have no problem doing that. They're happily to do that. They're happily to make asses of themselves. They don't care. They are shamelessly giving us the finger every day.
I'm confused. Like, they're not going to tell us anything. We're getting no facts at all.
All right. We got to end there, though. That's it. We already went over. That's the end of the World Wide Web of Weird. UFO invasion or exodus. I think it's an exodus. Look at them all leaving, right? I would, too. Our guest tonight is Paul Nugent, author of Mire from the Aetherius Society. We've had a number of guests on from the Aetherius Society over the years, and I'll be interested to hear from Paul Nugent, who actually spent time with Dr. George King when he passed away. So it'll be very interesting to get his take on that and talk about his book, Mire. I got it right here. I've been reading it after the short commercial break.
Necromancy. You were brought here for one purpose. Necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead.
No, please. No, please.
And death to the living. Necromancy, starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got a medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Paul Edward Nugent. He was born in Cambridge, England in 1958. He was brought up in the Church of England, accumulating in a regular worship and charitable work for the homeless at London's famous St. Martin in the Fields Church in Trafalgar Square, sometimes called the Parish Church of England. After completing the business degree in the 1980s, he embarked on a 4-year study of Eastern philosophy and spent 2 periods at the New Age community of Findhorn in the north of Scotland. At the same time, he was introduced to the cosmic teachings of the Aetherius Society, founded in London in 1955 by Western Master of Yoga, Dr. George King, becoming a member of the organization in 1986. In 1990, he moved permanently to the Society's American headquarters in Los Angeles, where in 1992 he became a personal assistant to Dr. King, remaining at his side until Dr. King's passing in July of 1997. Nugent has been a director of the Aetherius Society since 2001. He now lives in Michigan with his wife, Eureka, if I got that wrong. Probably got that wrong. He is the author of, we're going to talk about his book tonight, Mire, A Spiritual Journey into the Cosmic Truth and the Dawning of a New World. And like I said, I've had a few guests on as members of the Aetherius Society and people who had their lives changed by the late Dr. George King, like my friend Wahid Hassan. I'm trying to think, I've had a couple others, and I've always been interested in it. Especially when it talks about our galactic history, like the destruction of the planet Maldek. That's something that's resonated with me for a long time and always been interested. So we're going to hear about this tonight from Paul Nugent, and we'll open up the phone lines later in the show. We'll see how long we make it tonight, or how long I make it tonight with my voice. But we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get to our guest. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jason.
It's an honor to have you on. I've been trying to read your book here and there this week. I work retail, so I've been very busy, but I'm very interested in the Aetherius Society. I had, like I said, several guests over the years that have introduced me kind of to it. I didn't know much about it until I started doing this show, but years ago, I have this book somewhere on my shelf. Somebody wrote a book, and it was all about their channeling of the galactic past, and it was about the story of Maldek and all this stuff. I think if I find the book, I found out that this lady that wrote it was an Aetherius Society member.
No, she was probably a member of the Theosophy.
Theosophy,
yes. Madame Blavatsky, Annie Besant, they certainly spoke about Maldek. I mean, the Aetherius Society obviously has spoken about Maldek in our publications, but not one specifically that's been written, I don't think, certainly in recent times.
Yeah, this was her own personal book, like her own personal channelings and stuff like that. But right. I've read others, and the mention of Maldek just resonated with me, and the whole idea of it. And that's when I first learned about Dr. George King and what he had to say about it. Really fascinates me. It seems to be something in our collective consciousness, or something I believe. At least it called out to me when I heard the story. Heard this as our story.
I think it could be right there, Jason. I think it is something that is buried deep in our collective consciousness. But at the same time, something that is more and more coming to the fore. I mean, because everything is coming to the fore. I mean, everything's coming to a head in that sense. And Maldek is, I refer to it as one of the goalposts. I mean, it's so critical to this whole story of who we are, where we're from, Lemuria, Atlantis. But the other goalpost is where we're going. Which I mentioned in the book, which is a supercluster of galaxies known as Laniakea, as in immense heaven. We're on this incredible cosmic journey. We had a slight, Maldek was a blip, which again in cosmic time is relatively recent. I mean, I know it's over 18 million years ago, but in cosmic time, that's still actually
a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
When you're talking billions and billions of years, that's a blink of an eye, ain't it?
Right.
Well, so Paul, I gave you an introduction, but tell us a little bit, I mean, without throwing giving your whole book away, but tell us a little bit of your story, how you came to be a part of the Aetherius Society, became a follower of Dr. George King.
Right. Well, just, I mean, without giving the whole book away, as you say, but I mean, the book is in two parts. Part one is called The Things I Knew Before I Was Born. The second part goes into the teachings of Dr. George King that he brought through as a medium for beings existing on the higher dimensions of other planets. At least that's our belief. So The Things I Knew Before I Was Born, which is sort of counts for my own spiritual journey. I think we all intuitively we bring through knowledge from our past, because certainly a big part of our understanding is that this isn't the first time we've been here on Earth in a physical body. We understand the whole concept of reincarnation, and so the soul carries a memory of what we've known in our past, or what we've done in our past, even for that matter. And I just had this, I think we all have it actually, this intuitive sense that there's more to life than just what the Orthodox is presenting. And it just sort of, I knew it in my childhood, but I was another brick in the wall. I went along with the whole system of school, college, whatever. And went into the London wine trade, but as I was sort of going in my early 20s, it just sort of began to really kick in. Paul, there's more to your life than just having this job, getting a mortgage, getting married, having kids. Again, it was this intuitive thing, that intuitive awareness that I'd carried all along, but kind of just ignored. But it was no longer something that I could ignore. And I didn't know what to do. I was raised, as you mentioned in that biography, in the Anglican church, in the Christian church. So I had a Bible. and which you read at school, is supposedly studied. And so I began to read it. At least I began to read the New Testament, and the four Gospels spoke to me: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This man Jesus Christ was basically explaining how we should rightfully be living on this planet, in this world, and so I took it all very, very seriously. I began to, again, as you mentioned, St. Martin's in the Fields in Trafalgar Square. It's called Trafalgar Square. It's very
Trafalgar Square. I'm an American. I'm just going to butcher that, right?
It's
Trafalgar.
It's named after the Battle of Trafalgar, when Admiral Horatio Nelson defeated Napoleon's fleet off the
Trafalgar. I cannot ever say it.
In 1805. So when he said England expects every man to do his duty. We're getting slightly sidetracked, but it's an important part of London. And there was a church there called St. Martin's in the Fields, where I became quite heavily involved. And meanwhile, my boss was in the wine trade, was also a wonderfully sort of spiritually inclined man who was studying Eastern philosophy in London. And I went to that school for about 4 years and was introduced, the primary book we were reading was the Bhagavad Gita, and which introduces one to these concepts of karma and reincarnation that equally resonated with me in the same way that the teachings of Christ resonated with me in the four Gospels. So I took that seriously. And meanwhile, his secretary had been to a place called Findhorn to
Findhorn.
not so much correct you, but give it its correct.
Oh no, you can. I told you I'm a butcher at all. You can correct me.
Don't worry, Jason, because everybody seems to. Even I called it Findhorn when I first saw it.
Findhorn.
But it's actually pronounced Findhorn in the north of Scotland, which became really world-renowned back in certainly I would think the 60s and the 70s. It was actually started in the 50s. Through communication with the nature spirits, the devas of plants. And they grew, the people who were there, these extremely psychic two women, Eileen Caddy and Dorothy McLean, together with Eileen's husband, Peter Caddy. They established this incredible garden where the devas or the nature spirits of the peas would say, don't put us next to the rhubarb, but we love to be near the carrots. And they followed these messages they were receiving, and anyway, they grew a phenomenal garden. And so that I went there twice, again, as you mentioned, that introduced me to the existence of literally nature spirits, devas, elemental forces. And she was also a member of this organization called the Aetherius Society in London that was very close to where I was living and working. And, I checked it out, and it had been started by this master. I wasn't really familiar with terms of spiritual master, master of yoga, who it was claimed had been a medium, a channel for beings from other worlds, including, dare I say, the Master Jesus. And so there I was, relatively young man, having sort of refound the four Gospels, which had been incredibly impactful for me. Obviously, with Jesus going back 2,000 years ago, here in the Aetherius Society, they were claiming that, this very same Master Jesus had spoken through the founder of this organization, Dr. George King. Several times, but in particular on 12 consecutive Sundays in 1958, which, just to give you a bit of perspective, is the year I was born. And anyway, I'd go there on Sunday mornings for their service, and they would play one of these what are called 12 blessings, these 12 transmissions delivered by Jesus in 1958. And I listened to them. with an open mind and an open heart, if you like. And they had an incredible profundity to them. There was nothing that sort of caused me to doubt. They were incredibly serious. They were incredibly mind expansive, if you like, in terms of the sort of philosophical concepts that were being conveyed in the blessings. And they just had this literal sort of hallmark of truth about them. And so as a consequence of that, and another aspect of the 12 blessings, these 12 teachings, which is in a way, it's a cosmic extension to Jesus's Sermon on the Mount 2,000 years ago. It just literally goes out and takes it all into a cosmic level. One of the blessings, blessed is the Mother Earth. Blessed is the mighty sun. Blessed are the supreme lords of karma. Because the more one sort of goes into spiritual philosophical teachings, metaphysical teachings, I suppose, one begins to realize that it's all oneness, that everything is living, everything is interconnected, everything came from this sort of pre-Big Bang. And that at the end of the day, it is actually all spiritual, and it's all oneness, and it's all utterly profound. And so all of that was very much conveyed in these teachings of the 12 blessings. But in addition, to it being a teaching, it's also a practice. Jesus gave prayers at the end of 9 of the blessings. And in the Aetherius Society, we pray like that to channel energy out. I mean, it's a way of invoking energy and having your heart center open. We have what are called psychic centers or chakras in the palms of our hands, right, to radiate that energy out, which is, I guess, is the purpose of prayer. You're channeling energy to a particular object or individual.
The Aetherius Society believes in like radionics and stuff as well, right?
Very much so. Very much so. As I joined in this, what we call service of the 12 blessings, using these the headings and the prayers, with my hands like that, instead of being down on my knees with my hands together, I felt there's just sort of streams of white light passing out through the palms of my hands. I remember sort of likening it to my arms being like rods of steel, and it was almost physically difficult to lower them. So, that experience combined with the profundity of the blessings themselves caused me to take all of this a lot more seriously. And, I began to sort of investigate the other teachings within the Aetherius Society. And, it all stacked up. It all sort of resonated, with me at a sort of much deeper level. But I guess, part of my concern was for the state of the world. I was worried about the state of the world even then. We're talking about the sort of early 1980s. But I just sort of again
here we are.
Yeah, here we are. We're but as I was listening to you earlier on. I mean, when you were talking about all these drones, the fact that feasibly we're on the brink of nuclear war. I hope we're not. And but yes, it's definitely a possibility. And I mean, even with that aside, one can just look at the state of the world. It's in, as far as I'm concerned, it's in a if it's not in a horrible mess, and I think in so many ways it is in a horrible mess, but I don't personally see a world that's full of happiness and joy, and people having where their lives are working and everything is functioning well. It seems extremely difficult and dysfunctional and very screwed up, messed up, unhappy in so many ways, far removed from certainly what it could be and what it should be. And I had, I was concerned, as I say, about these things back in the 1980s. And the Aetherius Society was addressing those problems, those issues. and in an extremely profound and literally in a cosmic way, sort of bringing in elements of, of extraterrestrials. We actually call them cosmic masters, at least those in our own solar system. They're far more evolved than we are. And they've been literally watching over us, since Maldek over 18 million years ago. So I became a member of the Aetherius Society, and later moved. This was in London in 1986. I became a member. One thing I hadn't done was meet Dr. George King, and in 1989 I went to the American headquarters in Hollywood, California, to actually meet, in the hope that I'd meet him. I did meet him. And I was invited to actually move to the American headquarters of the Aetherius Society, which I knew was something I wanted to do, and did the following year. So, that is kind of the route that you guys say in America, or we say route, but it's the path that took me to where I was back then.
Well, you got, I read in the book, you got eventually pretty close to Dr. George King. You were there with him on his final day, correct?
Yes, I did. Again, nothing I suppose happens by chance. But yes, I did. I gradually sort of, got to do more and more for him, I suppose, on a small things, but on a sort of daily basis. And then I moved onto the property. We have the sort of compound of the American headquarters, and I became a resident there, which meant sort of getting more involved. And then in 1994, January 17th, there was the Northbridge earthquake that what it caused foundational damage to his personal home or at the headquarters, and other damage elsewhere. So he moved up to Santa Barbara, where he'd had a private home for 20 or 30 years. And he had 2 full-time assistants, but I was asked to go up there as well to relieve them one weekend, and a month after the earthquake. And I never left, and I stayed with him as a personal assistant for the last 3.5 years of his life. So came to know him, very closely, indeed. That's a big part of why I've written the book. My own personal journey. That's really just the sort of personal side. To sort of see a person's progression, why they would join an organization like the Aetherius Society, because when you, certainly back then, when you talk about Jesus coming from Venus, which is what we actually believe, although it does say in the Bible, and from the morning star, which is Jesus. But back then, most people would sort of laugh and run in the opposite direction, and would want nothing to do with the Aetherius Society and its claims. But I was prepared to sort of, when everybody took a pace back, I was ready to take a pace forward and investigate it, and I found it to be incredibly profound and important. And I think now, however many years that is later, or 40 years later, the world is actually sort of now having to take notice of extraterrestrial craft and what it all means, while at the same time our world is rapidly, I would say, or certainly if not rapidly, but unraveling in so many different ways, and we need a bigger picture, we need a bigger understanding. I'd say that the human race is in crisis. I think that we've got the political, the social, environmental things are consequences of a far deeper crisis, which I would say is a spiritual crisis as a species. We've had our sort of religious wars, so to speak, and you've got the Jews, aka the Israelis, sort of fighting the Arabs, Palestinians. But it's all, when you stand back, certainly from an extraterrestrial point of view, it's idiocy.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we are a planetary race, and yes, we've got our beliefs, and it's fine to have those beliefs, but we are our brother's keeper at the end of the day. Whether we share those beliefs, be they religious beliefs or political beliefs, or we're a planetary culture, and we're here to cooperate together. And coming back to the divas or the elementals, be aware of the I mean, the reason we've got environmental crisis is because of the sort of mental, emotional, psychic energy that we're putting out to the devic race, or the nature spirits elemental race, that elemental dimension, that is causing environmental imbalance. Everything, coming back to the oneness, everything is interconnected. It's all actually oneness. And in that sense, again, everything is being speeded up, which is, a part of this whole bigger story. I mean, we're a planet that's on its way within a solar system, within a galaxy, together with 100,000 other galaxies, moving at accelerating speed towards the Laniakea. That's what's really going on. That's the evolutionary process. And humanity, through, you could say, through choosing free will, umpteen million years ago, pre-Maldek, has got ourselves into this mess. But it can only go on for so long. And there's a karmic pressure for us to change and to start enlightening ourselves as to the much bigger picture.
Well, let's look at the bigger picture there. So what did George King say about humans choosing free will?
Well, I don't think it's much what he said as what these intelligences spoke through him. You see, if I can just back up a minute, and Dr. George King was born in England in 1919. 20 years later, along came the Second World War. He's 20 years of age. He was
a pacifist.
He was a conscientious objector only because he recognized that "thou shalt not kill" is a greater law than mankind, than our own laws.
Right.
It's a divine law. Okay, but I mean, Nazism is bad. It's got to be reckoned with. But am I willing to kill someone who's been conscripted to fight, because I've been told to by my government? So he was a conscientious objector, but he could recognize that obviously Hitler was an evil force. He wanted to help. He joined the fire brigade in London, which went through the Blitz, which was the dropping of bombs on civilians and setting London ablaze every night. So he was running into sort of burning buildings, collapsing buildings, rescuing the elderly and babies, and seeing terrible tragedy, death, being imposed by people on people, and it made no sense. It made no sense. I mean, he'd been very psychic as a child. He knew that there were other dimensions, and there was a far greater purpose to it all. And so, coming out of that experience, he began to practice yoga, which was rare, certainly back in England.
Right. That's what I always thought about Dr. George King, is like a lot of the stuff he was into. Like nowadays, oh yeah, another guy into yoga, whatever. Back then it was not common knowledge even.
Not at all. And even today, I mean, yoga today is still sort of stretching. Pilates.
Yeah, right, exactly. We're not talking like your normal hot yoga.
Well, I mean, that's an aspect of it, but
yeah,
there are deeper aspects of yoga. Yoga being a Sanskrit word, which means union, coming back to this oneness. It's having the experience of samadhi, or cosmic consciousness, in which one knows that it is all oneness. We know it's oneness because we've been told by the yogis that it's oneness.
Maya,
we intuitively sense it. It makes sense.
Maya Sanskrit right? Too is that what a
Maya? Yes, absolutely. The first word in my book, Maya, is the Sanskrit word for illusion. And Mire, M-I-R-E, is the second part of the title, is for the quagmire. The quagmire that we're in, from the illusion that we have.
Love it.
And so Dr. King was, or George King as he was back then, took up various forms of yoga, primarily pranayama, which is yoga breathing, also mantra yoga, and other forms of yoga. And he was doing this very intensely for up to 8 hours a day over a 10-year period. And the consequence of such discipline and focus is that it causes a force that we all have called the kundalini, another Sanskrit word, to rise through the sushumna channel in the spine, another Sanskrit. These are all Sanskrit words. I mean, it was the yogis who figured all this out.
Yeah.
And opening the chakras, psychic word, Sanskrit word for psychic centers, until one goes into an enlightened state. I mean, it's what the Buddha did. It's what it's well understood that Jesus did in those missing years. He went to places like Tibet and India and wherever else, and practiced these yogic techniques. And when you do it for 8 hours a day over a 10-year period, and they were actually all very much the same age, which is an excellent book written in the late 1800s by an American called Richard Morris Buck, called Cosmic Consciousness. It's an excellent book. I thoroughly recommend. It's a classic, metaphysical classic. And one of the interesting features of all the people who Richard Morris Buck determined had experienced cosmic consciousness, one of the common features is that for most of them it was all around the age of mid-30s. I mean, Jesus was obviously in his mid-30s when he had it. Don't know so much about the Lord Buddha, but I suspect it was around that time. And that was the case for Dr. George King. He was 35 years of age when he attained cosmic consciousness, which was in the sort of early 1950s, which was the period of the Cold War, having dropped 2 atom bombs at the end to end the Second World War, but had now gone on to develop the hydrogen bomb. And we'd gone nuts dropping bombs, atom bombs, or rather testing them, testing atom bombs and later hydrogen bombs. But it was also the height of flying saucer sighting, far more so even than it is now. And this was because these beings from higher dimensions of the other worlds, within our solar system anyway, if not even beyond, had seen us do this before, not only in Maldek, but through Lemuria and Atlantis, and here we were again.
Seems like a recurring story for humans.
Sorry?
Seems like a reoccurring story for humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with George King's ability to go into what is termed a positive yogic samadhic trance, he would go into a deep state of samadhi. In fact, the body was paralyzed in order to take the kundalini right the way up into at least the crown chakra, if not the Christ center, if not the crown chakra. And it was that ability through which they could communicate through him, and did, over 600 times. And so coming back to your question about what George King said about free will, it was more the cosmic masters. The master, we're named after a master from Venus called Aetherius. He was the first master to have contacted George King in 1954. Hence, we are the Aetherius Society. And I mean, I don't think they actually say that much, but it's just sort of, it's definitely in there. Mankind, humanity, chose free will, and in choosing free will, which the consequence of that is, if you like, it's you've got the wonderful allegory, a very important allegory of the Garden of Eden. I mean,
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, which I liken in the book, or equate to rather, as having been Maldek. We destroyed it as a consequence because this free will allows us to create separation, or the idea of separation. In the grand scheme, in the ultimate sense, there is no separation, but hence the Mire, the illusion. We live in the illusion of separation. In reality, in the profundity of the oneness of everything, of God, the absolute, so to speak, there is no separation. We're playing this sideshow game ourselves on the
knowledge of good and evil.
Yes, absolutely. And it's played out with, on one hand, I suppose, fairly disastrous consequences. Certainly, if you look at it in terms of Maldek, Lemuria, and Atlantis, and where we've been and where we are now. But at the same time, that divine spark, if you like, is within everything. It's within us. And our purpose, our spiritual journey, is to reconnect with it, and follow the thread back, so to speak, until we attain this realization of enlightenment. We're here to gain enlightenment, and beyond enlightenment, ascension. That's the path. So that tries to answer your question about.
Well, it's a question I've had on this show. Is like, do we have free will? Especially when it concerns, like, I've had visions of the future, but I've actually had an ability to change that. So, is everything set in motion? Is this just one all big play we play out? We have no free will in this, or is there divine will? The force, as I like to call it, like when you become in tune with it, you're following a will of something greater than yourself.
Well, I'd say there's, from my own understanding, I'd say there's both. And, the free will bit is, oh, geez, it's late, I'm tired, I don't want to do this show with Jason tonight. That's the free will bit. Which I didn't, don't worry, Jason, I didn't have those thoughts.
It's all right. I'm barely making it here with my voice right now. So,
but at the same time, there's the voice of conscience. There's a higher intelligence,
right?
If you like, coming more from, if not coming directly from the level of the soul, speaking, through the mind that knows what's inherently right. Yes, we have temptation, but we also have the power to resist that temptation. And I think that power, that intelligence, if you like, that knowingness that we all have of conscience is connected to, at least, the divine will. And that's, what we as humans need to adhere to more often than not.
Well, I've always wondered if we've taken this ride, this reality, whatever this is, this matrix or whatever, or we're doing here on this soul ride, or whatever we're doing as evolving souls, is that if we were without free will, like if you have somebody you love and you want them to love you just as equally and be a part in an equal relationship, you can't control them. They have to have the will to do what they want to do, or it's not true love, right? So we have to be free to make our mistakes, right? We can't learn without that either. What game do you learn anything, or what book or do you read? Do you learn anything when the characters don't make any mistakes? When they're just perfect, everything's done.
Yeah. Well, I think we get to a certain. I think we go through that until we, and you're right, until we sort of learn from making those mistakes. To me, actually, life's a little bit like playing Space Invaders. Not that I mean, it's maybe before the time I'm so
looking like it right now.
Sorry,
it says looking like Space Invaders lately in America, but hey,
well, very, very true. But what I do remember from my younger years of Space Invaders is that it starts off slowly, what's coming at you, and you can beat your attacker, so to speak, but then it starts to come faster and thicker and all the rest of it. And I think that life is a little bit like that. I mean, yes, we do learn the sort of baby steps, but then it gets I won't say more complicated, but we become more adept until we're able to, master what comes at us, till we sort of, which ultimately is spiritual mastery.
Will you, one really quick, will you move a little closer to you have a laptop mic or something? You get a little muffled at times. They started to get muffled. That's all right. I wanted to catch it before you started getting more muffled on us.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all right. I just wanted to catch it because last time you got a little muffled. It comes in and out, but maybe if you stay close, it won't. Sorry to interrupt you on that, but I just want to make sure people can hear you.
That's all right. That's all right.
No, it's just something that the whole purpose of, like, I'm a believer in reincarnation. I've had two very vivid dreams. I believe showed me a past life. One where I was a little girl that was beaten to death. I was a black slave beaten to death by her master, who was also her father. And another one, I was a Buddhist monk. I mean, these are very vivid dreams I had in my early 20s. I woke up from both, feeling the deaths of both those lives. And I was me, but I was totally not me. I was those people. It was the weirdest experience. But, it's one of those things you think, things I always knew, or what was it? What did you call it?
Things I knew before I was born.
Things I knew as before I was born. Well, something that's always been ingrained in me is just as a kid, before anybody ever talked to me about reincarnation, I just felt like it was ingrained in me that I understood that I've been here before, that we'd live again. That's like a part of me, like I just felt like that just makes sense, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We are all in the process of literally waking up, and I think that it is, that it is being accelerated. There's a karmic pressure that is coming at us from all angles, and in certain ways, it's actually becoming quite frightening, and I'm not just the whole global situation, because I mean, when I was a kid, I suppose one trusted one's government implicitly on the whole,
right?
And the system basically worked, and I thinking now. We don't have that same implicit trust in our governments.
Rightfully so.
Yes, indeed. Rightfully so. And
Scotland Yard, back, I think, was it the 70s or 60s, investigated Dr. George King because they were worried about him spreading his communist alien beliefs. And the FBI did the same here. With the Venusian brothers and the UFO people, they got to watch them, and they would actually put agents in these UFO groups.
Right. Society is not holding together you'd get a job, you'd apprentice in a job or something, and you'd have that job for life, and you'd get a pension when you left, and your wife could stay at home and raise a family, and and you could afford to buy a house for or you would have stable housing on the whole, nothing like the homelessness that exists today, and escalating rents or property prices.
Poverty.
Yeah, I mean the system just doesn't work the way that it did, and now we're throwing in, as you say, the whole extraterrestrial element to the whole thing.
Oh, I mean, in your opinion, everything of what George King taught and said when it comes to the extraterrestrials in this matter, I've been saying for months as we got more and more ratcheted up closer to the nuclear possibilities. I mean, Russia just, changed their first strike initiative. We've done nothing to help, and NATO is sure flaming the fans of war. We're getting closer. The rhetoric's there. And I've said as that happens, we're going to see more and more UFO sightings. Now, definitely some of this, I believe, is manufactured. Big amount of it right now in the news media in this last week is manufactured in the sense that we're putting up our own drones to try to throw off. But I believe there are actual real alien sightings happening up in those skies. People are seeing.
I think that for sure people are. I mean, it's what, these hearings have been about, these congressional hearings. One of the things I think relative or that's come out of these hearings, I can't think of the one man in particular back in the 60s, but a lot of them are saying that these craft are able to deactivate.
Maelstrom, 1966, I believe.
Yeah, but even, you know, they have the potential to disarm our nukes.
Yeah, in Maelstrom they did.
Do anything. I mean, with these drones, I'm not. I mean, I don't think anybody apart from the people manning these craft really know what's behind it. You see, what to me these cosmic masters, these extraterrestrials, are incredibly clever. Not that they seek to be clever; they're wise, they're intelligent. Because, you know, the obvious question is, well, if they exist, why don't they just sort of, you know, show up over Trafalgar Square or
Trafalgar? I can't get it right. Still can't.
Or Central Park or somewhere like that, so that it's clear and it's obvious and we can all see that this is an extraterrestrial craft. It's there and then it disappears and it reappears, and then, you know, and it's clear that this is not us or the Chinese or the Russians or anybody else. I think what we would get out of, from that is, I think we would get a breakdown in law and order. Actually, I think that we would see rioting or looting. We would see the government. I think that's probably what we would get. And another thing that's been grossly overlooked are crop circles. I don't know if you've covered crop circles at all.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, right. But I mean, for anybody who's really sort of paying attention to crop circles, it's not, you know, two men coming out of the pub, you know.
Oh yeah, they did all of them. They could have. I love that story. Oh yeah, these two guys, they did all these crop. They still are. They still are, even though they're dead.
In the middle of the night, without any arrows and without any lights.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're quite incredible. And I think that they're there really to provoke or inspire thinking, intelligent human beings as to, my goodness, what are these? Unfortunately, the media, in their stupidity or whatever it is, have always tried to find ways to debunk it all, as they have done with UFOs.
But have you seen the slight narrative change lately?
Well, I think it's been forced upon them. Yeah, slight.
Right.
Because the thing is, they can't. It's not something that can be brushed under the carpet anymore.
Right. You got mayors right now going on ABC News.
Yeah.
Saying, "Listen, I saw them coming out of the ocean."
Right.
You know, if you say you don't know what they are, whatever, my residents are scared, and there is, you know, you need to figure out what's going on here. We need to be able to have ability to shoot one of these down. By the way, people, I didn't even get to tell you tonight. If you see the video of the guy shooting at the drone, that's fake, by the way. But don't do that. You know, but that's a fake video, by the way. But, you know, I'm saying that you know, the media in a sense is being forced to, but at the same time, I feel like they all were prepped for this. The media was prepped. Police departments were prepped. This was all prepped months in advance.
Well, if you say so. I mean, because if it is all prepped, I just find it very difficult for people to sort of keep a secret. You know, these police departments, whatever, they're regular folk at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the police departments know that it was prepped, but they were given a handbook to how to deal with this 3 months ago.
And what did the handbook say, do you think?
It's telling them how to identify aerial phenomena of drones, what to do if they crash. It's just procedural and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because most of these cops aren't paying attention to what's going on in the news about disclosure or anything like this, so they had to prep them first a few months ago. The media, there's been a few things in the media I think that have indicated they've been building up to this. Like I said, if they know that the aliens maybe are not happy with us because we are pushing things towards nuclear war, and I think there's evidence in the past where the aliens have shown themselves when we've done things of not, you know, they're to the benefit of humanity, might destroy us all, that they're prepping for this, that this is a sense of they were putting, because there's definitely there's definitely drones, like real human man-made drones out there amongst the other weird things people are seeing. I've seen it. So there's some kind of masking, in a sense, and a preparation here, and a psychological warfare being played upon us with this whole ordeal.
So sorry, just to sort of get that straight. So the drones, in inverted commas, that are being seen, particularly in New Jersey, but I understand it's other states and even other countries.
All over. In my town.
Is it? What's your town?
I'm in Michigan City, Indiana.
Okay, of course you are, yeah. Are you saying that some of it are human operated and some are non-human operated?
Correct.
Right.
Because in the video stuff I see evidence of both. When you see something going into the ocean or coming out of the ocean, to me, that if that's ours or if that's a foreign adversary, we've gone way beyond.
Well, I'm sure it's not a foreign adversary. Sorry.
I don't think those ones are UFO. I think those ones are military.
The ones going in and out of the ocean?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I don't think our military's that capable.
Nope. No. That transmedium propulsion is like trust me, our military wants it. They want that technology, but I don't think they have it. That would be, you know how game changer that would be and how dangerous that would be if any one of our military, China or Russia, had that kind of capability to fly in and out of water like that. The getting under radar, getting in here with the drones, they would be very much potential drop a nuclear bomb without anybody even having a whisper knowledge about it. You know, very dangerous to our airspace or anybody else's. So I don't think that is us. Transmediumship that's complicated to pull off.
Those have the same blue? Do those ones have the blue and red lights?
They don't have
too, or
no, just a big blue light.
Okay.
Like I showed, the ones going into the ocean. You can even see it splash as it goes into the ocean.
Okay.
To me, now all those ones with the red, green lights, I think are drones. Like I think our military is putting up. But people are seeing. Yeah, I think that it's some kind of ploy. But then you have ones that are just big balls of light. Okay, the orbs or the ships or bigger ones than that. That are going in and out of the ocean. I don't think that is us. I don't think that could be another military. And if it is another military, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, I don't think it's another military, and I don't think it's us either. Has that kind of capability.
I had video tonight where they're over over the Capitol, supposedly. And those ones didn't have the red or green lights on them. They were orbs glowing in the sky.
Well, I think at some point, if it is extraterrestrial, there needs to be some kind of disclosure, dare I say, on their part, because all that it's otherwise going to do is increase the sort of, panic or whatever, amongst ourselves. We don't know what's going on, and people don't like to not know what's going on.
Right.
And maybe, one of the things that that was communicated through Dr. George King back in 1958 was that another avatar will come to this earth openly. And the word that was used was shortly. Well, this was in 1958, so it's already 66 years ago. And the implication of the transmission that was given was that the next mass would come into a time of great upheaval, if you like, potentially, if not a nuclear war, the threat of nuclear war. I can't remember the exact quote verbatim, but he will approach the Earth leaders. They will ask of him his credentials. He will produce these. His magic will be greater than the combined materialistic might of all the armies. Now, there's always been speculation as to when, what shortly means in that cosmic context, when they said there will shortly come another among you. Another thing that they predicted was something called the primary initiation of Earth. That took place. That took place on the July the 8th, 1964. That was the most important of all the 600 cosmic transmissions that George King received, when a tremendous infusion of, let's call it, cosmic energies were given to the logos of this planet. This is kind of in a way where it gets complicated. It's all in the book, though. Let me make it a plug for my book.
This book right here.
Yeah, that book right there. Because coming back to Maldek, you see, as I said, right at the beginning, Maldek is essential to this whole predicament that we're in.
This is a planet we existed on 18 million years ago.
All that remains of Maldek is the asteroid belt.
Right.
And it's interesting what's coming to light about Maldek potentially having been a planet. It's always kind of been dismissed somewhat by astronomers, but there's increasing evidence as to actually that in all probability was
I recently in an article a study that there is posited that there could have been another planet, and that is the asteroid belt.
It also falls into the remarkable numerical sequence called Bode's law, who was I think he was German or Swiss or Austrian, one of those. Mathematician. Actually, it wasn't him. He put his name on the thing, but I think it was another guy who came up with the sequence. It's an incredible sequence of numbers, but it's enabled much more recent astronomers to actually find the outer planets, because if you follow this sequence of numbers, it predicts where in space you would expect to find them. I think Uranus, Neptune, Pluto have all been found by applying Bode's law. Well, if you apply Bode's law, there should be a planet where the asteroid belt is, between Mars and Jupiter. The metaphysical understanding, or as in the Akashic record, to use another Sanskrit word, is that it was a planet that we destroyed over 18 million years ago. But being an aspect of the oneness of God, so to speak, we couldn't just sort of be taken out of creation. We're an aspect of creation. But we needed somewhere to continue or make this evolutionary journey. And in other words, we needed a planet, having destroyed our previous one. And this Earth, as a living, highly evolved conscious intelligence, as are all the planets, as are the suns, as are the galaxies, they're all living. They're with, incredibly evolved consciousness, way, way, way above ourselves. The Earth was approached, and she accepted. This is where you get the allegory of the Garden of Eden, I suppose, so to speak.
We should be thankful of Earth for accepting us after we blew up the last one. But we got to go to commercial break. So hold that thought. We'll talk more about Maldek when we got to go to commercial break. All right, guys, we're going to commercial break. We'll talk more with our guest tonight, Paul Nugent, about his book, Mire, A Spiritual Journey into the Cosmic Truth and the Dawning of a New World. And all the craziness going on, right, with the aliens and everything else. We end up talking about that. But we're going to talk about Dr. George King tonight. And we're also going to open the phone lines. You can call in, join this conversation with our guest, Paul Nugent, after a short commercial break.
Conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Paul Nugent. He's the author of Mire, a spiritual journey into the cosmic truth and the dawning of a new world. He was he's a member of the Aetherius Society, and he got to know very personally Dr. George King, the founder of that society, who communicated with aliens, extraterrestrials, extra-dimensional entities. There's a lot to this. It's a big, deep rabbit hole when you get down into these kind of things. And there's a lot of things happening now. Are the aliens showing themselves now? Because we are on a brink of a nuclear war, maybe. That's the things we're talking about tonight. You can call in and join this conversation. The phone lines are now open. Call into the show. Join us with our guest, Paul Nugent. But let's go ahead and get back to the show.
Yeah,
Paul, thank you for hanging out with us here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we're only going to go about another hour on the show because my voice is slowly degrading. Sinus drainage is killing me right now. But the phone lines are open, guys, if you want to call and talk with our guest tonight, Paul Nugent. So with this book, the main premise that you're trying to get out is the work of Dr. George King and the message and the beliefs of the Aetherius Society. What would you say is the main theme of this book, though, like spiritually, for people to learn or take away?
That life is incredibly important, that we are making a soul journey, and we're on an evolutionary journey, every single one of us, but also collectively. And we've had great teachers come to this earth, such as Jesus and the Buddha, and like it or not, but the message that they fundamentally gave is the path that we as terrestrials need to adopt, one of cooperation, love, and service. Those are key elements for our own evolution, because we're actually here to get off here. We're here to graduate. And leading eventually with the ability of attaining cosmic consciousness. With that experience, when we're able to bring about that state at will, we will, in inverted commas, but we will ascend. We will go through the initiation of ascension. It's why we have, or ascended masters that are referred to again in all literature, all metaphysical, much metaphysical literature, who live in retreats, who can materialize, dematerialize, don't need to, eat. I mean, they look like us, they are like us in many ways, but they're masters. They've literally attained mastery. Who've remained here on Earth to help in our evolution. They probably helped us scientifically, medically, in all kinds of ways. But it doesn't end, or life goes on beyond this earth. And the big part of ascension, which of course Jesus demonstrated, if you believe the resurrection, which we do, he came back. To all intents and purposes, we thought he was dead. Well, he's not dead. There is no such thing as death. He reappeared. Apparently, he was around on Earth for about another 700 years. And if with attainment of ascension, we go on to higher levels of experience, of coming back, I suppose, to the Space Invaders, but in a different kind of a way. Because ultimately, this journey that we're on is an ecstatic journey. Another aspect of cosmic consciousness is ecstatic bliss. It's a blissful state. And yet it's still, in the grand scheme, fairly elementary. It only gets more and more phenomenal. And the more we begin to experience and understand the magnificence, if you like, and the totality of this thing called God, which is infinite. It's actually, comes back to the 12 blessings that I was speaking about earlier on. Why I took, what my portal into the Aetherius Society and why I've remained. It's something that is beautifully explained in this book, The 12 Blessings, given by Jesus in 1958. With levels of consciousness, galactic levels of consciousness. The 10th blessing, which is a blessing to the galaxy, it lives, it breathes, it feels pain, it meditates, but on a scale that awaits us. We're part of this same oneness in this evolutionary sense, and so I think that the essential purpose then of the message is to make humanity aware that we're part of something that's vast, that's infinite, that's divine, that's interrelated with everything, including the Earth, in another essential aspect of this teaching, is the Earth is a living being, which comes back to what I was saying a little bit before the break, with her receiving this cosmic energy in 1964. It's causing everything to be quickened. And we can see since 1964 that everything has been quickened, and it's only getting quicker. And it's not just man-made, it's part of the whole rhythm of the Mother Earth herself and the whole solar system itself, and part of the whole galactic system itself. Everything is being quickened anyway on an exponential scale. And we're beginning to see it play out on this Earth. It's turning faster and faster and faster, and it's putting a pressure on humanity to come into an alignment with, coming back to sort of divine will, if you like, or our higher intelligence. That's the message, a very big part of the message that was communicated through Dr. George King. It's a cosmic message, it's a spiritual message.
In the 90s, one of my big-time influences is Art Bell, and him and Whitley Strieber wrote a book, The Quickening, because those two felt that things were quickening, and that was the 90s. Art, I wish you were here to see things now. Whitley still is, but, definitely things have really quickened up in the last 8 years.
Well, they call it, some people refer to this as the exponential age, because, it seems like just about everything, including the price of Bitcoin, if I throw that in, is going exponential.
Well, I see John in there. Planets aren't people. Well, some people believe planets have consciousness.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of belief in that the planet is a conscious entity. I mean, heck, there's a lot of philosophies out there that everything has consciousness.
Everything has consciousness.
Even inanimate objects and everything.
Rocks, everything has consciousness. There's consciousness in everything.
And that's another thing that confuses people, too. They're like, well, Venus, how can Jesus be from Venus or Aetherius be from Venus? Because that's just a molten, you'll be fried alive if you went there. They don't, you want to explain a little bit of the interdimensionality of planets.
Well, I think that you could say in a way, if you accept the law of karma, as you sow, so shall you reap. As Jesus put it, action and reaction are opposite and equal, as the Buddha put it. If you accept that law as a fundamental law of being, you could argue, I would argue, that it makes no sense without throwing in reincarnation as well, because otherwise, what are the just deserts? What are the consequences of karma beyond death? Does it mean, well, it didn't really all matter, we were only, playing around down there during your lifetime, and you all go to heaven and we all win? And no, there are lower astral realms. There are higher realms and there are lower astral realms where we go in an etheric body awaiting rebirth. So that obviously implies that there are other dimensions around this earth. We can't physically see them, touch them, whatever.
Right.
So to science, well, they can't exist because we can't measure them. So it's well, to a psychic is obvious, but otherwise one has to sort of intuitively, I suppose, believe it, understand that's how the concept works. And if there are therefore other realms of reincarnation, as you've mentioned, you've got memory of previous lives. Well, where were you between lives?
Right.
On another realm.
It's like my youngest son told my wife that he chose us.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he was 3 years old, and before he was born, I saw him. I saw him as a translucent boy who walked in through my living room years before he was born.
That's fascinating. Yes, it said that we do choose our parents. So on the basis that there are other dimensions around this earth, then it makes sense, rational sense, that there are other dimensions around the other planets.
Correct.
Except they don't, because they are You see, I would say that the starting point, the real starting point, is cosmic consciousness. We haven't even reached the starting point yet. But the awareness truly begins with cosmic consciousness.
You're getting a little muffled. Make sure you talk more into the mic. I don't know.
It begins with cosmic consciousness. Now, these beings on the other dimensions of the other planets, that's a state. They've never gone below that, and there's a hierarchy of planets. We don't just sort of pick and choose which ones we go to when we obtain ascension. I believe that we go to either Mars or Jupiter. Beyond that, in the hierarchical sense, Venus and Uranus are more evolved planetary cultures. The most evolved planetary culture in our solar system is Saturn. And we understand that Sri Krishna came from Saturn. The Lord Babaji came from Saturn. And then even beyond Saturnian existence. Actually, all this is beautifully explained in another of our books called The Nine Freedoms. This is an old copy. The cover's changed now, but The Nine Freedoms, I thoroughly recommend it to anybody. And beyond, which describes this evolutionary journey that we're on, actually begins with bravery. Bravery being the first freedom. Bravery to honor one's inner voice of truth and conscience, coming back to what we were talking about in free will and divine will. But it culminates in our solar system with solar existence. As far out as it seems to us at this stage of our evolution and the way we evolve as a culture, but the sun is a living being. There is life. Okay, we couldn't live there in this physical body, but show me the body of the soul. The soul can exist, probably in a far greater range of temperatures. I'm not saying it can.
Well, we don't even understand what consciousness is. You know what I'm saying? We determine it as just a soul human experience, or who we are.
Article recently where some scientists are now saying there's like 3 stages before you die, that you go through 3 stages of some sort of consciousness before you die.
You probably go through a very elevated stage of I think at that moment of death.
I didn't read it. I just saved it.
You have a very you see the whole picture, and I think that, again, there's perhaps an intuitive sense of that, which is why some people have a fear of dying, because their conscience has regrets.
My grandfather, when he died, didn't speak for 2 years. He had dementia, and the last words he said, hadn't spoken in 2 years, was "Life's a joke." He laughed, and then he died a couple hours later. And it's haunted me ever since, wondering what he meant by "life's a joke."
Yeah.
He had a lot of regrets, I think. But it's the thing. What is this? Are we? Are we in this to progress, move, learn? Are we progressing and learning? I feel like, just from what I understand from my past lives that I've witnessed a little bit of, that I have progressed, probably, hopefully, somewhat. I hope. In this life, but I don't think I'm going to be an ascended master anytime soon either. It's going to, I see a lot of people out there I don't think are anywhere near close to any kind of ascension.
I don't think we are.
Keep going.
Yeah, we got a long ways to go is what I'm kind of saying here. Everybody.
I don't think it really is.
Yeah, but to sort of use an overused phrase from Confucius or one of them, but a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. I mean, it's important to recognize that nonetheless we're on that path. There's a wonderful yogi story, actually. Well, there's many wonderful yogi stories, but this one in particular, where a yoga master is walking through, the forest or whatever in India. And he comes across a student who's been sitting in yogic meditation for about 4 years, and he's got ants crawling all over him, but he's not disturbed by it. And he sees the master coming, and he telepaths to the master. Master, how many more lives must I have before I attain, enlightenment? And the master can see that he's, doing very well. And he says, oh, you've only got 3 more lives before, you attain enlightenment. And he carries on. This man's not too happy with the fact that he's got 3 more lives of doing this. And he sees a young man playing the fool. And this young man playing the fool calls out to him and says, hey, master, how many lives must I live before I attain enlightenment? And the master looks at him playing the fool, and he says, you see that tree? See how many leaves there are on that tree? You will have as many lives as there are leaves on that tree before you gain enlightenment. And, which was numerous. But this young man playing the fool, he realized in that moment that no matter what a fool he was, no matter how many lives he must live, he nonetheless was going to have this experience of enlightenment. And through that realization that it was inevitable, that it had to come to him, he attained it in that moment. So even though, it is literally a matter, as I said earlier on, life is serious. It is a serious business. We can waste it by not taking it with the seriousness that it actually requires, I would say even demands. But when we do, and when we see how beautiful, we're part of something incredible. When we really stop and can take it all in, we're part of a miracle. We're part of something.
I agree 100% on that.
And when we take that on board, and then in taking that on board, see what a horrible, horrible tragedy we're making of this world, with all these secrets and lies and confusion, and we don't know if this is going on or that's going on, and it's chaotic, and it's how tragically sad that is when seen from a perspective of realization. So coming back to, okay, so we've still got a fair way to go on this journey, but to come into that realization that, nonetheless, we are still a part of God. We're part of this whole thing, is very enlightening in itself.
But everybody's on their own timetable on it.
Sorry?
What I'm getting, everybody's on their own kind of timetable on that. Is that
yes,
Yogi was kind of pointing
that's
out.
where free will comes into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to us to choose. Do we want it to? Another saying, yogic saying. I mean, to experience enlightenment, it's as if your hair has got to be on fire and you're rushing to water to put it out. It's burning. It's got to be this burning desire to attain it. Very few. Dr. King, he had that burning desire. It's why he put in 8 hours a day over a 10-year period. He had to know. It's not something that he was willing to wait for the next life or the next life. I need it now. I need it to come now. And he made the effort to do that. Now, very few of us have that level of intensity.
Oh yeah, I don't have the time.
Well, there you go.
I used to joke because when I was in my 20s, I got really into. Sorry, my voice is going here, but when I was in my 20s, I really got heavily into like meditation and trying to see auras and like developing my psychic abilities, getting into all that stuff in my early 20s. And it was very much like, why isn't everybody else into this, or looking deeply, or asking these profound questions, or why is everybody so caught up in the material world, and blah 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 blah. And then I grew up. Got married, worked full time, had 2 kids, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I get why. Okay, I get it. I'm humbled.
Yeah, life takes over, and it comes back to that sort of conformity that we all have to do.
Yeah. It's like everything. Like I said, everybody's on their own timetable. So. Sorry, putting somebody in a timeout. I took care of it, Gene. But, everybody's on their own timetable with this. I love that story of the yogi, with that, because I think, we all, in America, we want a quick fix. We want a quick pill, quick way to get there. I don't think there is. Sure. For me, I didn't have enlightenment, but I had a point in my life where I was really young, where I was attacked by something negative, and a negative entity, if you want to call it. And I humbled myself to realize that I needed help from God. And a divine force, call it God, the force, the will, whatever you want to call it, reached out, and I felt it. I felt it as immensely peaceful moment in my life I've ever felt. This thing made me know that there was, no judgment.
Right.
And this light was always there, with us all the time. It's the most peaceful thing I ever felt in my life. And I became a believer. Now, I didn't become like a Christian or join the Aetherius Society or a Buddhist or anything. I didn't join any religion, but I became a full believer in a higher power. There's something much greater than me or anybody else, that we're all a part of it. We're never alone. Nobody's ever alone. It's always there with every single one of us, and there's no judgment there from it.
I had a very similar experience when my own brother died a few years ago, and because he didn't really sort of believe any of this, we'll take it all too seriously, but I had a very interesting sort of psychic communication with him after he passed on, and came into the awareness of the, wow. I say that because what you were saying about peacefulness, he found a state of peace that he'd never known.
Right. My belief is in that moment that I had, I was 18 years old. I was being levitated up off my bed, being attacked by this entity, dark entity, and I couldn't talk or anything, but in my mind I was saying, I'm so sorry, God, please forgive me, God, please help me, God. And I felt this light come into my room, and I felt this warmness and love and just complete, like everything is forgiven. There's no judgment, and that's for everyone. It was just for me, it's for everyone. And I know that's hard for some people to take or believe in that, or you'll call me crazy, but I had that experience. It saved me. And I've been a believer ever since, that there's something out there more than us that is divine love, that is always going to have our back, that nobody is alone.
I would fully concur.
And, I always tell people, like, being in the paranormal thing, I get a lot of stories like, I live in a haunted house, or I was abducted by aliens, or I love all those stories. But the ones I love the most is like what you were just talking about with your brother, is that I think some of the biggest closeness we get to that divine presence is in death, in separation from a loved one. And then that loved one comes back and reaches out and shows you that there's so much more, that they're still here. They're not gone. So many people I know have that experience. They don't talk about it. They don't tell a lot of people. It's a very personal experience, like yours was with your brother. But when they do share it with me, I feel very honored, because I think that's the biggest piece, I think, an experience of people in the many lives they live. They'll have that experience at some point. Maybe not everyone, but a lot, where a loved one you care about passes on, and they come back and show you. They show you that life goes on, and that they're all right. I've heard it from hundreds and hundreds of people I've known throughout my life.
Yeah, well, my brother was kind of in a state of shock, but he wasn't, because he died very suddenly. And it was actually a friend who's a Sikh, Sikh faith. And, a day or so later, she found out my brother had died, and she said, Paul, he's in shock, you need to help him. And I went into our temple at the headquarters in Hollywood and called out to him. He's called James. James, you died, mate. And because he didn't know that he'd died. And he was in a state of confusion and shock, and had this, once he'd made that realization, he found this incredible sense of peace. And I went back later, and he was very insistent that I tell his wife, as if she didn't know. And of course, she was in a terrible state of shock herself, with 6 children. And I didn't really know how to communicate it to my sister-in-law, but at the same time, it had been profoundly true for myself. And I felt I need to honor my brother in this, and I did. And I sent an email to his wife, widow, and she found it incredibly healing and helpful to know, that James, my brother, was okay and had found this, incredible peaceful state. So but again, I guess that, tying that back to the story of the Aetherius Society, or what we're about. Yes, life is important. Yes, life does go on beyond death, but there is a purpose for it. It isn't just a completely random experience.
Right. There's got to be something more. We're on some progression.
It's an evolutionary journey that we're
Right.
making, and because when we follow that thread and begin to make sense of it all, it becomes literally enlightening in so many ways, and everything in a way becomes precious. Not it becomes profound. Everything becomes beautiful. Everything becomes incredible. And that's what. Well, the subtitle of the book, again, is the dawning of a new world, because that actually, coming back to the energies of the quickening that's going on, there is a new world, so to speak, that is being born. That where all this darkness
feels like
is being transmuted. Coming back to George King, and a key aspect of this story, he was one of three adepts who took on Earth's physical body to go into the lower astral realms. This was Armageddon. I mean, it's written up. It was actually called Operation Carmelite back in October 26, 1967, till February the 29th, 1969. 24 phases where these adepts projected into the lower astral realms to clean out the very worst aspects of those lower astral realms, sort of brought about so much conditioning that we have on this physical plane. You're right. You can say it's a fight between good and evil that is being played out on this world.
Right.
It's actually Lord of the Rings in so many ways, except it's for real. George.
There's the great eye, the Sauron, the eye on the dollar. It does feel like Lord of the Rings.
That's right. The more we become aware of this far bigger picture, and ultimately the goalposts, as I say, are Maldek on one hand and Laniakea on the other. But we are in this Lord of the Rings fight for with good and evil. Yeah.
I got this question from thank you for the $20 donation, Summerside of Life, for Super Chat. Place I work at for now, multiple break-ins, so management is mad. I was reading this because usually it's a question, but I'm seeing if there's a question here. I tell them all the break-ins are happening on the weekend, Monday, Thursday. All right, not a question. He's just let me know. After December, I will read his book. Okay, he just let us know he's going to get your book. Thank you for the donation too, Summerside.
You get it from the Aetherius Society, but also from Amazon.
Yeah, Jamie's been sharing the link in the chat rooms for his book, the Mire. Yeah. And I think people, they're going to get interested more. I think there are going to be more people interested in the Aetherius Society, probably what Dr. George King said. I think in a sense he predicted some of this in what's happening now, didn't he?
Oh, completely.
I mean, pretty much this is what he was talking about.
Yeah, there's a sorting of the wheat from the chaff. I mean, it's biblical in that sense that is taking place. And it's that I suppose is what it is. Coming back to other sort of stories, I suppose, but there's the wonderful story of from Solomon. Why he was called wise, because these two women were fighting over a baby. I'm sure you know this story.
Split him in half.
Mine. No, it's not yours. It's mine. And so he said, all right, I can solve this very, very simply. I'll cut it in half and you can have half each. And obviously the true mother said she can take it because, she loved. It was her baby. She knew it was her baby, but she couldn't see her baby, being killed to solve an argument. And I think in a way, we get into this sort of political stakes and nationality stakes and religious stakes, sides. We take, And we're pulling ourselves apart.
More separation.
We're pulling it all, and it's to bring our love to the situation. You know, a big part of the message of these cosmic masters not only is love, which is the second of those 9 freedoms after bravery, but is service. The world and everything should matter to us. When one comes into the realization of what it really is all about, I always say prayer is care. You pray because you care. You care. You care about the world. You care about the division. You care. It bothers you that all kinds of arguments and everything is sadness, tragedy are troublesome to you. They're painful. Why can't we all love each other? And so you find ways to. And in a very sort of mischievous, not mischievous, but sort of unobvious way. But that is the sorting of the wheat from the chaff. As Jesus said, first will be last. You know, the billionaires, so to speak.
Yeah.
Unless they are the people who are sort of appear to be running the show, will, I'm afraid, actually be last in the sense that most matters. And the people who do care, who are doing the good work, the really good work in the schools, in the hospitals, in whatever way it is, even within the churches. I say even within the churches, but the people who are genuinely trying to hold it together, who are bringing their love, who are finding ways, not for any kind of reward or compensation or anything. They're doing it because they care from the love in their heart that is driving them to do it. Are the ones who will be saved in this so-called, first will be last and last will be first. And you can't cheat it. You can't fake it. It's profound. It's realization in itself, or that realization will come. And that's the game we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I always say if everybody could have the experience, like some of the experiences like I had, if they had to, like, even just to, like, woke up or went to sleep tonight and had a dream of one of their past lives.
Oh. Well, maybe they will, actually.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, if they did and they could see themselves being a totally different person, and question, like, who is the person they are now? If you can be this person that's totally different, and then this person, what is really you?
Well, I mentioned that, I think, in part one, that there is this awakening that is actually going on. There is an awakening that is going on. Maybe small numbers at the moment, but I mean, these literally, one of the things the Cosmic Masters did say, these are the last days of this old order. And they didn't say it in any political context whatsoever, because they're totally non-political in that sense.
Politics now is stupid. Just stupid. It's just stupid. I'm just saying, I don't belong to any political party, and I don't have any interest in any of them, because it's just stupid. It's just like more people to be divided and separate each other from each other, trying to control each other's lives and tell each other how they should live or what they should believe.
Yeah.
And I say screw it to both, because you do you, I do me. We be good. I like Thich Nhat Hanh. I was a big fan of Thich Nhat Hanh, and one of my favorite books, it's a very small book, is Peace is Every Step.
Yeah.
You want peace, then you can only choose what you do. So if you want peace, you got to give it. And it's every step.
Yeah.
And I love Thich Nhat Hanh for that little book, because it's as simple as it can be. I mean, how can you expect something if you're not giving it?
Right.
You can't choose what other people are going to do or what they're going to choose to do. You can only do what you choose to do.
And live your life how you want to see it.
Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world.
Right. I try to teach that to my 2 boys, is that, I try to, it's changed me. I've, definitely done some self-improvement and worked on my attitude about things around my children. I still got a long ways to go, but, lead by example, show them. But I try to teach them to put themselves in other people's shoes and have compassion and empathy and know you don't know what somebody's coming home to. at the end of the night, you know, make them understand and have compassion and love. If we could just teach the next generation of children to have more compassion and love, it would change the world.
Yeah, we would do.
But you know what we're doing? We're teaching them how to fight. We're teaching them how to yell and bicker and be stupid. You know, I mean, these kids know what about P. Diddy. I'm like, what do you shouldn't know anything about any of that stuff going on. They see and hear all this stuff that us stupid adults are doing right now. And they pick up on it quite a bit. You know, we got to lead by example. We're doing a horrible job of it.
Yes, we are at the moment, but things could change quickly.
I think they are. I think they are. I mean, not just in the alien realm of what we're seeing going on right now. We're talking about Yeah, I do see, you know, there's people having more interest in calling, you know, wanting the actual truth, seeing the truth behind what they put in their bodies, behind what the government's doing and spending our taxpayers' money on, how we're harming other countries, specifically here in America, and what our U.S. government does. You know, I'm seeing more opening eyes to this stuff, you know, more care and issue. And that's great. That's great. As long as we get truth, as long as we go for the truth and not deceive ourselves. You know, I see a lot of that going on too, though. You know, we got a long ways to go. That's what I'm saying. You know, there's an awakening. I feel it. I do feel it, Paul. I feel an awakening. And every guest I've had on here that's been a Mire or follower of George King, I could see that he changed their perspectives. All their lives were changed by his perspective. You know, for you, what, you know, I mean, personally, I mean, you got to spend with him his last days. What for you do you think it's really changed in your life? But you know, put you at.
You know, again at the beginning about how I was not so much a confused young man, but I was a searching young man for bigger, more important answers to how to live my life. And Jesus Christ was a very important influence, still is. But ultimately, it was George King who gave me the teachings that he brought through, and his own teaching. He was a master of yoga in his own right. You know, has given my whole life meaning and focus and purpose, and it's enabling me to fulfill my life. You know, without it, I would, you know, be a lost soul, and you know, not much use to society as a whole. Hopefully, I am something. You know,
before we go tonight, because I am going to end the show a little bit early because I'm dying here, but what you want to give out your website and any other information to the audience?
Yeah, well, yes, I'd give it the Aetherius Society, which is AETHERIUS.org. You'll find the teachings of the Aetherius Society. You know, Mire, MAYAMIRE, which is my own book that you can either get from the Aetherius Society or from Amazon.
And how big is the Aetherius Society? Like, I mean, how many, like, you know, somebody's interested in it, like, you know, how widespread is it?
Well, we're in, I think, all the English-speaking countries, the main English-speaking countries of the world. We have a center there, but we're still relatively small as an organization. You know, because the teachings are they're non-orthodox. I mean, you know, when you say Jesus,
I'm sure you get this. You know, being part of the Aetherius Society is like, you guys are a cult. You know,
yeah, no, we are. By definition, actually, we are. A cult is a sort of non-mainstream religion.
I'd say I could throw that at every mainstream religion, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, there's too much. Well, there's connotations with cult that makes it an extremely negative word. Nobody, you know, so it takes a certain amount of bravery to sort of look beyond that and say, fine, okay, but what are those teachings? What are those teachings saying? What is the organization doing? I mean, you'll find that I think people obviously have researched the Aetherius Society and come to the conclusion that we don't, people are free to come and leave. No,
right. There's no dogma or anything. You're not going to have
a membership fee of $60 a year.
Or do you want to pay $1,000 for your theta level? No.
Yeah, no. There's no force on any.
No. I'm poking at you a little bit because I've researched the Aetherius Society because I've had now several guests part of it, and it is so not like. You guys are very passive. Like, there's nothing very cult going on like you see in other cults. There's nothing like that at all.
I mean, I'm an international director, and if I hadn't been with it for nearly 40 years, and if I was to say, hey, guys, I'm done with this, then they would be astounded. I mean, it's not going to happen, but, there wouldn't be anything to stop me from doing that,
right? Or they're going to make you so you can't talk to your family members anymore.
On people who, some of my greatest friends, in the world, colleagues, and it's not going to happen. But I mean, people are free to come in, and if they find that it's not for them, then we shake hands. Fair enough. But for most, we don't just accept anybody into the organization. We require them to actually. You've got to look at the 12 blessings. You've got to, study some of this. You've got to study the 9 freedoms. You've got to make sure that, this makes sense to me, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to help, the Aetherius Society in its work. So, people on the whole.
How have you seen it for people that you've been, being a part of this, people that come into the Aetherius Society as new members? What do you think really brought them to your group?
I think their higher self. I think they were looking for truth, and they wanted to be of service to humanity. And I think that they were ready, able, and willing to accept and embrace, life beyond this world, as in cosmic masters. You've got to bite the bullet. Actually, I mean. I listen to these we all do. You listen to these transmissions, or what are these cosmic masters saying? And I told you earlier on, I practiced the 12 blessings. It was incredibly powerful. There's other work that we do with prayer and mantra. As Mahatma Gandhi said, he who does not change his mind in the light of greater reason is a fool. And it all stacked up. It made sense to my higher self, to my soul, intuitively. It all made sense. So I was, obligated, so to speak, to take it to the next step.
Something about the Aetherius Society's lasted.
Yeah, with the longest standing UFO organization in the world, I think. Because it's true. It's a very good point, Jason. And if all this was, crap.
That's my interest. I mean, honestly, I'm not part of the Aetherius Society. I'm not a member. I don't join any religious groups. That's just how I am. I'm wired to question everything. But what I find interesting about the Aetherius Society is that George King's been dead since the 90s.
Yeah.
And he created this in the 60s.
1955. And
1955. I mean, and there's still plenty of members, still people going on. I've had several guests, all part of the
we've endured
books.
Quite right. We've endured because we inherently know it to be true, and truth will endure.
Yeah, so to me that says a lot about your group. That so many people are still a part of it. That there's no main leader. That everybody's focused around to keep it going or anything like that. Yeah. It's the work and the word, and it speaks true to people, obviously. So I'm very interested in it. I'm very interested in the book. I've been reading it. Guys, check out Mire. You can get it on Amazon. We got the links in the show. You've been a great guest tonight. Sorry I couldn't go longer, Paul.
No, it's fine. It's way past my bedtime, Jason.
Yeah. I got to be up in about 6 hours too. But thank you so much, Paul. Everybody check out his book. We will be back next week. We're going to talk more about ancient aliens and all that with one of our regular guests, Paul Anthony Wallace, next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Thank you again to Summerside of Life for the $20 Super Chat donation. Don't forget you can donate on Super Chat, Patreon. If you can see the links in the show description, it'll take you to our Patreon page. $2 a month, $1 a month does help pay the bills for the show, and then you get exclusive access to the show. I'm going to try to start posting more to Patreon there. Sorry for missing last week. Sorry for not going so late tonight. I am getting over being sick. Next week we'll be back full power with Paul Anthony Wallace. See you guys then. Have a great night.